Make him suffer.
Make them suffer.
Just give him a little bit of pain.
You need a reminder that men ain't
Now, consider how societies feel about men suffering abuse at the hands of women and how societies go about it.
Men out there, brace yourselves, because we're about to go there because this woman, we're about to go there because this woman allegedly did. According to the Orange County DA's office, Catherine Q. Becker is accused of cutting off her husband's penis with a knife, taking his penis and throwing it into the garbage disposal. She's been charged with felony torture and aggravated mayhem. Police say Becker attacked him because he filed for divorce. She's being held. She goes, that'll teach him. She is being held in a California jail while her husband remains in the hospital.
I bet you that those prison guards are wearing one of those things that footballers wear? Those metal cups.
Oh, yeah, that the athletes wear?
Yes, yes.
Jockstrap? Cups.
Yes. I mean, I don't know the circumstances. I don't know why he filed for divorce. I don't know what was going on between them. However, I do think it's quite fabulous. I mean, can you just imagine that thing whizzing around the disposal? It's like hysterical. But, however, I think I would have just, depending on why she cut it off. I mean, it does depend on the reasons why.
Does it?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, standards. Practice it.
What would be an acceptable reason?
I'll think of one. I would have just thrown it in the dog's bowl.
Why does the dog have to suffer?
Chewing on an old bone.
Well, remember the Lorena Bobbitt, the Bobbitt case where
Love her.
she kind of did that
Love
first.
her. I like candles by her picture.
Yeah. You love Bobbitt? Well, at least she didn't put it in the garbage disposal, so they went and they found it in a field somewhere, and they were able to reattach it. But once you put it in the garbage disposal, I guess there's no reattaching that bit.
And also, it's like, was she like, oh, I cut it up, but that's not enough. I'm going to throw it in the garbage disposal.
And then turn it
she
on.
She wasn't satisfied by just cutting it off. You know.
I don't know that there's anything that my husband could do to make me that mad, though.
Oh, I can think of some.
Really? All right, like what?
No, it's actually not funny. I just said that to be funny. But there are things that I don't want to say because we're laughing about it and it's fun, that I can think of one thing that a man can do that I would consider chopping up his stuff.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
what is it?
Cheating.
No, it's not cheating.
No, like I think I got it.
I hear you.
What is it?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like a bad crime kind of thing. But I was also thinking, like, I wonder what their fights were like before this. Like,
That's a good point.
what their fights are like. If you don't take out the trash, I'm going to cut your penis off.
Right, did he see it coming? Were there signs?
But allegedly, there's so much premeditation. There's poisoning the food or drugging him and tying him up. And then when the police got there, she was like, he deserved it. He's in there. That's what she said.
Who called the police?
She did.
Oh, that was nice.
There's something I want to point out, though, not to be like a total buzzkill, but it is a little bit like sexist. Like if somebody cut a woman's breast off, no one would be sitting laughing. Like it's not that right to sit around laughing about it if we think about it.
It's different, though.
It is different.
One's floppy and one just sticks up like that. It's easy to do that.
Some are floppy. Both can be floppy. Let's just put that out there.
This guy, for him to have gotten so plastered to the point of someone chopping off some of your limbs.
No, it's not really about being plastered. In fact, what we were discussing with Julie was that any man who is close enough to you, you can cut off many of his things. I think that most of the women are just nice and they're not planning to cut off any of your
wondering why there's so many men walking around with their stuff because clearly.
No, but how does that happen? Because in a normal situation, in a normal situation, if that happened, then that woman definitely would be a dead woman walking. Now, for that to happen, that your stuff is cut and
You're just
I
there.
mean, what happens? Are you just sitting there? Oh, nasikia uchungu.
There's a bigger problem in central Kenya as a whole, actually, and I think those in the know that they need to do something about it. Alcoholism has just reduced people who would otherwise really be helpful in this society. Quite unhelpfulness. And women do not leave their homes to come and sit with you and look at you. They can do that back at home. So when you are not doing what you brought them from home to come and do, then it's not interesting for them. So these people are angry, and they're taking out the anger on the people who married them or supposedly are supposed to take care of them. So it's really sad. I don't think that it's nice to walk without your engine, generator, all those things that they're calling them. I've seen really interesting memes. But remember, women can dismember you.
Don't cut people's stuff off. Like if I chopped off your...
No, if you did it, it would be different. Of course, if a man
But you
does
see,
it,
what
it's a
would
whole
you chop
different
from
story.
us? You see, most of the things that we have are not exterior. What will we be chopping?
You know, for women, I think it's like it's been long. All the mistreatment or the harassment or the guy is not providing has been
I
going
wondered
on
what
for
you're
a long
talking
time.
about. It's been long.
She probably get off with it because the guy probably did something so horrible and has been doing it for so long.
Let's understand where this woman is coming from. Allegedly, like I told you, this guy had not come home for 2 days. He had been in a drinking spree. Then he comes home finally, overly drunk. But he had a condom. Maybe waited for him to black out and then just decided if this is the problem, like the way the Bible says, if your right hand is the one that is causing you to sin,
there's no good enough reason for somebody to do such permanent
Absolutely, damage.
No, but is there a good enough reason for a man to treat a woman in a certain way? But you've got children, you've been married to this guy, your whole life is invested in that particular situation.
So now you maim me because your life is invested in me.
Then he should have thought about that before he did what he was doing.
When women kill men, it's often through poison or a hitman, so they get away easily because for the most part, around 2/3 of the time, they do it for the money, so they have enough money to beat the case.
This morning, an alleged poisoning caught on camera. Tucson police investigating these videos obtained by ABC News that airman Robbie Johnson claims shows his wife, Melody, trying to poison him by pouring bleach into his coffee maker in the midst of a contentious divorce. In a probable cause complaint, Johnson alleging the poisoning attempts began in March while the couple lived in Germany and continued when they moved back to Arizona. After noticing his coffee was tasting bad, he bought Pool chemical testing strips, which showed high levels of chlorine in his coffee pot. The strips seen in this video police are investigating, obtained by our affiliate KGUN.
I want to test this to show that it's definitely tainted. It stinks. Seems true. Big change.
Johnson setting up multiple cameras in his house capturing the footage of his wife, who's now behind bars charged with multiple felonies, including attempt to commit first-degree murder. According to the complaint, police found liquid that smelled like bleach inside the coffee maker and a container under her bathroom sink that smelled like bleach and had a very small amount of liquid inside of it. Her husband alleging she was trying to kill him to collect death benefits. Melody has not entered a plea, her attorney declining to comment.
The state is going to have to prove that her intention was to kill him, that this wasn't some bizarre effort to clean the coffee machine, that this wasn't some mistake, that she was out to get him. And I would think that the additional investigation that they've done will support that argument.
An Arizona woman who admitted to poisoning her husband's coffee with bleach gets a slap on the wrist and avoids jail time. 40-year-old Melody Johnson was initially charged with attempted first-degree murder, but last month pleaded guilty to 2 counts of poisoning food or drink. Under her agreement, Johnson pleaded to the lesser crime and the attempted murder charge was dismissed in return. The case unfolded last year when Tucson police said Johnson had been poisoning her husband's coffee since he was stationed at an Air Force base in Germany in March of 2023. The couple was in the process of getting a divorce, and the victim believed he was being poisoned so Johnson could collect his death benefits. Johnson's husband caught on to the scheme after 2 or 3 weeks of his coffee tasting bad. So he took the investigation into his own hands. The airman reportedly purchased pool chemical testing strips, and the coffee pot water turned up positive for high levels of chlorine, even though the faucet water was normal. Johnson's husband would later tell investigators she knew that he would prep his coffee at night, so in the morning he just needed to turn on the machine to make his daily brew. According to reports, Johnson's husband even went so far as pretending to drink the cup of joe and waited until they were no longer stationed in Germany to report the incidents to authorities. Johnson herself was later caught red-handed by her husband, as hidden camera footage shows her trying to poison her husband by pouring bleach into his coffee maker. The couple then relocated to an Air Force base in Tucson, where Johnson's husband brought the video evidence to authorities, and she was later arrested. Fast forward to this year, Johnson would strike a plea deal with prosecutors. Initially, she faced a maximum of 2 years in prison for each count. However, the judge seemingly gave her a slap on the wrist, sentencing her to probation. According to reports at sentencing, Johnson's attorney told the courts her client suffered from anxiety and depression, even alluding to a toxic marriage and claiming her husband was abusive toward her.
A Missouri wife is in jail for allegedly poisoning her husband's Mountain Dew drink. Michelle Peters denies mixing Roundup into her husband's cup, but allegedly told police she was angry her husband was not appreciative of the 50th birthday party she threw him. The victim went to police after he noticed his Mountain Dew did not taste right and he became sick.
But a Missouri woman is accused of putting the weed killer Roundup in her husband's Mountain Dew. And she was reportedly doing it over a period of weeks before allegedly switching it to insecticide earlier this month. We're talking about 47-year-old Michelle Peters of Lebanon, Missouri. She was arrested after an interview at the Laclede County Sheriff's Office. She's locked up with no bond, and she is charged with first-degree domestic assault and armed criminal action. Her husband, fortunately, survived this alleged poisoning, or these poisoning attempts. And he is the one who put 2 and 2 together, basically because he realized his drink wasn't tasting right and he started to not feel well. So he eventually reported his suspicions to the county sheriff, but it wasn't just suspicions that he had. No. He also presented them with surveillance footage. He has a refrigerator in the garage where he stores his 2 liters of Mountain Dew. Around the 1st of May, he noticed that his Mountain Dew had an odd taste and got sick shortly after. He reviewed video footage which showed Michelle taking the 2 liters of Mountain Dew out of the garage refrigerator and grabbing Roundup weed killer. Shortly after grabbing the Roundup and Mountain Dew, Michelle placed the Mountain Dew back in the refrigerator. He added that he is the only one in the household who drinks Mountain Dew. He showed Sheriff Millsap and me several videos on his tablet which showed the interior of his and Michelle's garage. In the video, I observed Michelle multiple times taking the Mountain Dew in and out of the refrigerator and handling the Roundup. In the videos, Michelle would conceal herself out of camera view before placing the Mountain Dew back in the refrigerator. Remember, this is the account now of the law enforcement officer. He said that he brought multiple 2 liters of Mountain Dew that he believed were tainted with Roundup. We packaged the bottles into evidence bags.
This morning, new allegations in the case of Corey Richens, the Utah mother accused of killing her husband, Eric, by poisoning him with fentanyl, then writing a children's book on dealing with grief. Investigators now claim Richens may have had help from her mother, Lisa Darden. Darden spoke about the case late last year and claimed Eric may have accidentally overdosed on his own.
I believe Eric may have gotten pain pills and didn't realize that they had fentanyl in them. If you knew Corey, she would never, ever do this, not only to Eric, but to those boys.
Newly unsealed documents reveal Lisa Darden was living with a woman back in 2006 who also died suddenly from an overdose. Investigators now say, based on Lisa Darden's proximity to her partner's suspicious overdose death, it is possible she was involved in planning and orchestrating Eric's death. Corey Richens' attorney responded, saying the fact that Ms. Darden's significant other was one of the millions that suffered from and ultimately succumbed to opioid addiction is hardly suspicious. It is tragic and, unfortunately, quite common. But the similarities may go beyond overdoses. Investigators say Darden benefited from her partner's life insurance policy, just like Richens allegedly tried to do when investigators say she changed Eric's life insurance policy months before his death. Richens has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Her attorney also defending Richens' mother, saying the fact that Ms. Darden was the beneficiary of her romantic partner's life insurance policy is also not unique. It only demonstrates that her circumstances are no different than most families in America.
This morning, new court documents show 33-year-old Corey Richens took out nearly $2 million in life insurance policies without her husband knowing about it, $250,000 in home equity, and withdrew $100,000 from his bank accounts before his death.
I think the more we know about Corey, the more we know that this was money-driven.
The Utah mom of 3 wrote a children's book about grief after her husband Eric died. Now prosecutors say that Richens is actually responsible for his death, accusing her of poisoning him with fentanyl. Just a few weeks before he died, court documents say Eric confided in a friend that he thought his wife was attempting to kill him when he got sick after a Valentine's Day meal. Eric was found dead in their home in March of 2022 after allegedly drinking a Moscow Mule made by Corey.
She seemed to have orchestrated meticulously the death of her husband. I don't think anybody should be surprised if the state goes after the death penalty.
When asked about the court documents, Richens' lawyers told ABC News the state amended the charging information and has not turned over discovery yet that supports it. Therefore, we couldn't be prepared to argue about the sufficiency of the evidence. As for Corey, she spoke in an interview about her book just 1 month before her arrest in April on why she wrote it.
I just wanted some story to read to my kids. I couldn't find anything that really, suited them or helped them find comfort and peace.
Now, as for that book, it has been taken off Amazon, and Richens is back in court in the next month, and all eyes will be on what her lawyers say at that time.
The Orange County dermatologist and wife accused of poisoning her husband was using Drano in her kitchen, according to her lawyer, but not for anything criminal.
The idea that my client, who's a 45-year-old, well-respected dermatologist in Orange County, would destroy her life, destroy her children's life, and to try to kill her husband is just completely absurd and untrue, and for that matter, defamatory.
Emily Yu was arrested last week after her husband, Jack Chen, another local doctor, brought these images to Irvine police. His attorney says Chen set up cameras in the kitchen in July and allegedly documented his wife pouring Drano into his lemonade on 3 separate occasions. Yu's lawyer, David Wool, told me that plumbing issues caused his client to use Drano, and she poured the chemical into a cup so it wouldn't splash. These are screenshots contained in court papers. My request for the videos was denied.
Any time that she poured Drano into a cup, it was completely empty. It was for facilitating use in the sink or any other particular part of her house that was clogged as far as the drainage goes. But she never poured any Drano or any chemical into any drink that the father or her husband used or was drinking ever. That's just completely untrue.
But Emily Yu's husband told police he'd been noticing a chemical taste in his lemonade, and he's been sick for months, according to his lawyer. Chen, who is a radiologist, was diagnosed with stomach ulcers, gastritis, and inflammation of the esophagus. Through her lawyer, Emily Yu says she doesn't know how her husband ingested Drano or if he actually did.
But we do know that he was desperate for a divorce filing. He was desperate to have reasons to gain custody of his children, and we believe completely that these claims that he has made are all part and parcel of that effort.
This morning, a California dermatologist is officially charged with trying to poison her husband with liquid drain cleaner, but her lawyer says the woman's husband set her up.
Dr. Chen basically set her up and put spy cameras or hidden cameras in the kitchen to catch her doing that. Then he claimed he was poisoned.
45-year-old Emily Yu is charged with 3 felony counts of poisoning and 1 count of domestic battery. The Orange County District Attorney claiming these images show the mother of 2 pouring a Drano-like substance into her husband, Dr. Jack Chen's tea, intending to cause him pain and suffering. Yu's attorney pushing back, saying his client was trying to kill ants in the kitchen.
The indictment says she was not caught once, but 3 times on camera trying to poison her husband. How do you defend that?
She does pour the Drano in the cup 3 times to kill the ants. That's not disputed. She absolutely poured the Drano in the cup.
I have never heard of a way to prevent ants from putting Drano into somebody else's drink.
Last April, Chen says he began noticing a strange taste to the tea, so he set up a hidden camera. Authorities say these images capture you pouring this substance into the tea on July 11th, July 18th, and July 25th. The doctor saying in divorce filings he was diagnosed with 2 stomach ulcers, gastritis, and esophagitis.
My personal theory is I don't think she wanted to kill him. I think she wanted him to suffer.
Well, why don't you go ahead and tell me what I'm saying?
Well, not entirely sure. I've been I don't know off the fence. I know I want it done. I'm just trying to figure out when I want it done.
It is her own husband she is talking about killing.
But you want it to look like a breaking, somebody breaking in?
Well, we were talking about that too, and Carlos was like, oh, well, since I know him, I might be able to get him outside. I have a girlfriend who wants to move in with me, and I don't want her to be scared to move in with me. And if she thinks that we got broken into and then Jake got,
Yeah, that's probably she wouldn't want to move in.
Yeah, so I'm kind of afraid of that because I want her to move in with me because I don't want to live there by myself afterwards.
And the guy she's talking to, that right hand there, that's whom she wants to hire to kill her husband. She talked to him twice, and he was full of questions.
That's him.
Does he look just like that then?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much?
Yep.
Okay.
Except now he's got a tattoo on his arm.
You said, something about a gunshot, so is that how you want me to do it? You want me to shoot him?
Unless you can do it painlessly, breaking his neck, that would...
Well, I would prefer to use either a knife or a gun. It's quick and easy.
Do a gun instead, it's painless, less painless.
Okay. Where do you want me to shoot him? Do you want an open casket, a closed casket? What do you want?
I don't want an open casket.
And the stuff she's worried about, like the mess it might make.
I can do it any way you want me to, but I just want to know how you want it done.
Really, whatever's easiest. If you can get him outside, that would be great.
Okay.
But, if you absolutely can't, I'll understand,
So you want me to, I guess I'm not understanding you. So you don't want it done in the house then?
Because it would be messy in the house.
She didn't really need to worry because her husband is still alive. And Julia Murfeld, who wanted her husband dead, faces sentencing for her crime on July 30th. One mistake she made, talking to that guy in the car. He was an undercover police officer with the Muskegon County, Michigan Sheriff's Department. Another mistake, thinking she would get away with this. Amazingly, the number of people who tried to pay someone to kill off a relative is more than you can count on one hand. Nightline has covered several such cases in recent years, and in all of those, the plotter was caught in time. As former FBI agent and ABC consultant Brad Garrett told us, these people keep making the same mistakes.
What they do is they step to a friend or an associate or someone that they knew in their past, and what happens in a vast majority of the time, the person they step to goes to law enforcement.
Take, for example, the case of Dalia DiPoletto, who, like Julia Murfeld, was taped making a deal for her husband's murder with an apparent assassin who was actually a cop.
I'm positive, 5,000% Charlotte.
She went so far as to put on a big grief performance when they told her, falsely of course, that the deed had been done.
Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, man. He's been killed. He's been killed, man. I'm sorry.
In DiPoletto's case, it was the typical miscalculation. She turned for help to someone who then went to the police. She is currently under house arrest on $500,000 bond as her lawyers appeal her conviction.
We're going to show them the film where you say you're 5,000% sure you want him dead.
It's the cold-bloodedness that comes across in these stories.
It surprised me with how you do it.
How, in Julia Murfeld's case, she nonchalantly discussed the details of offing someone who had been part of her life, whom she presumably loved once.
I was looking at my calendar and I was thinking either the 18th of April or the 25th.
You wonder, how can it get from loving and marrying to wanting to kill and planning to kill?
She has turned this over again and again in her mind so many times. She doesn't even see her husband as a real person anymore. At this point, he's just a mark.
But here is another twist on it. The case of Houston lawyer Jeffrey Stern, arrested for plotting the murder of his wife Yvonne. His mistress, Michelle Gazer, confessed to being in on it and is already serving time. But Yvonne, the intended victim, says she still loves her man and is blaming the whole mess on the mistress.
I forgive him for his indiscretions.
The charges against Stern were dropped, and the marriage lives on. And how did that happen?
The spouses have something called learned helplessness. The victimized spouses sometimes don't even want to break away. They feel guilty, brainwashed. They imagine it's their own fault. And sometimes they'll even go to the murderous spouse's defense to try to get leniency in sentencing.
Stern's former mistress, meanwhile, was plotting to have him murdered, according to Stern's attorney.
Michelle Geyser, from her jail cell, has plotted yet another murder. She has solicited an inmate to murder Jeffrey Stern for $20,000.
So these things do tend to get messy, which is just what Murfeld didn't want when she got in that car.
You don't want it done in the house, then?
Because it would be messy in the house.
And why not just divorce her husband? Well, there was insurance money to be had if he were dead, and then there were his feelings to consider.
When I first decided to do this, it's not that we weren't getting along, but I mean, it was easier than, as terrible as it sounds, it was easier than divorcing him. You know, I didn't have to worry about the judgment of my family. I didn't have to worry about breaking his heart. Stuff like this is like kind of like a clean ghetto image.
Breaking his heart? Yeah, sounds like that would have killed him.
This demon wanted to take innocent children's mommy away from me.
First up, we're in Circleville, Ohio for the sentencing of 33-year-old Tara Lambert. A year earlier, Lambert was recorded stepping into this parked car to meet with a hitman and arrange the murder of her husband's ex-girlfriend, Kelly Cook, whom he shares 2 children with.
What's going on with you? I hear you got a problem.
I have had a problem for 7 years.
Really? 7? Damn.
Yeah.
Those problems reportedly stemmed from ongoing visitation issues between Lambert's husband and his ex regarding their daughters.
I need her away, gone.
Okay.
Uncommunicative.
Damn.
Unfortunately for Lambert, the person in the driver's seat is not actually a hitman. He's an undercover officer.
I mean, what do you want done with her?
Oh my God. Just put her in a chopper, like one of those lumberjack chopper things.
I don't carry a lumberjack chopper.
No, I'm just kidding. Like, that's how much I hate her, though. I don't know. Whatever you...
You want me to just walk up and cap her?
I don't know. What do you think?
So, I'll just walk straight up, shoot her in the grill.
On top of casually calling for the killing of her husband's ex, Lambert also gives the go-ahead to kill the intended mark's new husband, Sean Cook, should he happen to get in the way.
So if he's there, you want him to go too?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't mind.
Just hours later, Lambert was arrested and brought in for questioning.
Am I really, arrested?
Yes, you're under arrest.
Oh my God.
Did you ever make the comment that you would like to have her killed?
To have Kelly killed? My stepdaughter's mother?
Yes.
No.
The sting operation was set up by a friend of Lambert's after Lambert asked her to find someone to kill Cook. By all accounts, Lambert's husband had nothing to do with the proposed hits. With the clear video evidence against her, Lambert was later found guilty of 1 count of conspiracy to commit aggravated murder. And now at sentencing, Sean Cook, who also found himself on Lambert's potential hit list, shares his victim impact statement with the court.
To relay the extremely deep and long-lasting effects this has had on our family is almost impossible. So we hope the court realizes this, that there isn't only one victim.
Most affected, Cook says, are Lambert's own stepdaughters.
The 2 oldest children had a relationship with this defendant, and the knowledge that she wanted to take their mother's life, as well as their stepfather's, has done irreparable damage. Tara is nothing but a bully, and it's time to take a stand against people like this. Please do not show her compassion or consideration, as she has none for others.
Now, facing the possibility of up to 22 years in prison, before learning her sentence, Lambert addresses her intended victims.
Kelly, Sean, and your kids, I am truly sorry for the harm that my actions have caused. I never intended for the situation to get so out of control, but it did, and I do accept full responsibility for it. While the jury was told not to consider mercy, I hope that this court can consider it.
Mercy, however, does not seem to be what the judge has in mind.
You're out of control. This is by the first time in your life, now that you're 33 years of age, you've come in front of somebody who's taking control or will take control of your life and say, no, you're not going to do that. You stand committed to Marysville Reformatory for Women for a period of 7 years.
A year later, Tara Lambert's conviction was overturned on a technicality that the prosecution failed to prove a critical element of the conspiracy charge. In exchange for pleading guilty prior to a second trial, Lambert was given the reduced sentence of 5 years with credit for 1 year time served.
An application by the prosecution to have rally driver Maxine Wahome detained for 14 days pending investigations into allegations of causing grievous body harm to her boyfriend Asad Khan was shot down by Kibra Magistrate Bernard Ochoy.
I will direct, therefore, that the respondent be released from custody on cash bail of 100,000 shillings, and the respondent will be reporting to the investigating officer of this case at Kilimani Police Station once a week, every Monday, until the conclusion of investigations.
Ochoy added that the application by the state to detain her for 2 weeks lacked compelling reasons to keep the suspect in police custody. 26-year-old Maxine Wahome is suspected to have caused grievous body harm to her boyfriend 50-year-old Asad Khan following what has been reported as an altercation between the two. The investigating officer told the court that she was arrested at their apartment after the boyfriend's brother made a report of an assault to the police. The court heard that during the arrest, the police found a lot of blood in the house and broken glasses, signifying a struggle.
She can't enter her own apartment.
However, through her lawyers, Wahome said she is a victim and claimed that the man hurt himself when he was attacking her. Her lawyer told the court that until investigations are over, no one really knows who the victim is in this case, since the intended complainant is still unconscious and cannot record a statement. Maxine made history in June this year when she became the first female to win the World Rally Championship 3 at the age of 26 during the Safari Rally in Naivasha.
Safari Rally driver Maxine Wahome may face murder charges over the death of rally driver Saad Khan. Maxine, who was presented in court today, had been charged with causing a grievous harm to late Khan in a scuffle last month. However, following the death of Khan, the investigating officer requested for more time to conduct investigations, stating that the circumstances of the case had changed from that of causing grievous harm to murder. Now, the court granted the investigating officer 14 days to conclude investigations. Maxine was arrested on December 12th and detained at Kilimani Police Station after a report of the assault was reported by Adil Khan, Assad's younger brother.
The investigating officer is given more time as requested to conclude investigations, considering that the victim herein passed on in the course of the investigations, and that he is no longer investigating a case of murder, investigating a case of grievous harm, but a case of murder. It appears that they will still require her to record further statements in view of the new investigations they are conducting.
At the same time, Safari Rally driver Maxine Wahome has pleaded not guilty to charges of murdering her boyfriend Asad Khan on the 12th of December 2022. Maxine, who appeared before Justice Lillian Mutende virtually, sought to be released on bail, saying she will abide by the conditions of the court. Now, through her lawyer, Philip Morgo, Maxine says the late Khan injured himself while breaking the door to the balcony where she had taken refuge after he attacked her. She will be detained at the Langata Women's Prison ahead of the hearing of her bail application on the 21st of March.
The murder trial against junior rally driver Maxine Wahome kicked off on Tuesday, with a neighbor taking to the stand as a first witness. Chimutai Kipkorir told the court today that Maxine and the deceased, who is her late lover, used to frequently engage in physical fights. She testified that On December 12, 2022, she was in her house when she heard commotion from Assad's house. Though she did not get out of her house to try and intervene or separate the two, Mutai told the court that she heard a woman crying amid the commotion before she went on to call 911 and the Kilelesho Association chairman. Maxine is charged with the murder of Assad, who died on December 19, 2022. This was after he sustained serious injuries at his home on December 12th.
That's why.
But by that time, when I came back, somebody had gotten a silver blanket and they'd covered him up and they loaded him into the vehicle.
So you didn't manage to lend them your blankets?
No, I didn't. They didn't need it at that point.
Yes.
And then they drove off. And then that's actually now when I went and opened my door and there was a lot of blood right on my doorstep. And there was a noise coming from upstairs. It sounded more like a commotion and scuffles, and there was what sounded like an argument.
Since you said there are two other houses or floors up, so which particular house?
This was D3, directly above my apartment.
And you said the inhabitant or occupant of that house was?
Assad. I would occasionally see a lady coming in, and this was for a period of about 2 years, so that's the most familiar person I remember who was in D3. It sounded like commotion and scuffling, and there was just heavy pounding on the floor and a man yelling and what sounded like a lady crying.
So any other voice?
No, just those two, to my knowledge.
Yes. Any other thing that you can recall? Hearing? Any other thing?
Yes. One thing, when he was yelling, he said, sorry, can I curse in court?
Sorry?
Can I say exactly what he said?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I heard him saying, get the fuck out of my house. And he kept repeating, get the fuck out of my house, and more scuffling and the woman crying.
So how many times did you hear the words?
I heard it twice when I was in this, at this time, at 8 o'clock.
And any other sound coming from the other person that you said was in the house?
Just crying.
No sound? Just
Crying,
no
somebody
words.
crying. There was mumbling words, but I couldn't make out what they were. Yeah.
So what did you do upon hearing such?
I went to my living room and used the house intercom to call the guard downstairs. His name is Hassan. I called because I'd mentioned, I knew that if I called him, he would go and address it. So I called and said, they're fighting again. Could you go make them, or could you do something?
So when you say they are fighting again, who did you mention? Because you're saying they are fighting again. Did you mention the names of the people who are fighting?
I did not mention the names of the people fighting.
Yes. So did Hassan know the people that you are referring to?
Yes, he did.